This was difficult to write. He took her hands in his and gently placed a peck on the back of her palms. She didn't look into his eyes. Don't snatch your happiness because of the deeds of your biological parents, love. Don't do this. I still remember how shattered you were after we miscarried our 2 unborn babies. Both miscarriages weren't your fault, but you kept blaming yourself again. Even after me, your doctor, our family, all of us told you it was not your fault. You kept believing otherwise. It was very difficult for us to bring back you to daily routine, to bring back your smile. Do you think you would be able to live peacefully realizing you aborting our baby was just for some baseless reason? This time she looked at him but didn't say anything to him. Fresh tears fall from her eyes. She gripped his hands tightly and tried to stop her tears, but all went in vain. He freed his hand from her and embraced her tightly. She cried louder while clutching his t-shirt and placing her head on his chest. He patted her back and caressed her hairs. Next morning. Taehyung carefully arranged the dishes on the tray, the steam rising gently from the freshly cooked rice and spicy aroma of kimchi was filling the kitchen. He was about to take it to Wayne's room where she had confined herself in sadness, her resolve to end the pregnancy casting a shadow over their home. But as he turned, there she was standing in the kitchen doorway, her eyes watery yet holding a glimmer of something new. Taehyung, could you give me some food? Her voice was a whisper, but it cut through the silence like a melody. The tray clattered onto the counter as Taehyung rushed to her, his heart swelling with a cocktail of emotions. Wayne, you are here, he managed to say, his voice thick with unshed tears. She nodded, a tear escaping down her cheek. I am hungry, she said simply, and it was as if those 2 words held a part of him that had been broken for weeks. As they sat together, Wayne took a bite, and with each mouthful, the weight in the room seemed to lift. Then, with a deep breath, she looked into Taehyung's eyes. I thought about your words yesterday night. I thought a lot. You are right, Taehyung. I shouldn't terminate our pregnancy because of my biological parents. Taehyung reached across the table, taking her hand in his. Wayne, this child is ours, a symbol of our love and perseverance. Your biological parents' shadows don't reach here, not to the life we have built together. Upbringing matters, Wayne, more than genes. Environment matters. We won't let our child develop the sick mentality of your biological parents. Just trust yourself, trust me, trust us. She squeezed his hand, a smile breaking through. I was so scared of becoming like them, but I see now. Our child will know nothing but love and morals. And that's all we need, that's all. Taehyung whispered, his heart finally at peace. Two months later. In the softly lit examination room, Wayne lay on the reclined chair, her hands folded over her belly, a mix of hope and Taehyung stood by her side, his presence a silent pillar of support. out. The doctor, kind-faced woman with gentle hands, moved the ultrasound wand with practiced ease. Everything's looking good so far, the doctor murmured, her eyes on the screen that flickered with the grayscale image of the life burgeoning within Vigan. Heartbeat is strong and growth is on track. Vine's lip curved into a tentative smile, meeting Taehyung's gaze, which was filled with an equal, quiet joy. But the moment was fleeting. I have noticed an anomaly that concerns me, the doctor continued, her words measured. It's a condition that puts you at risk, Vigan. Continuing this pregnancy could lead to severe complications for you, potentially life-threatening. The room seemed to close in around them, the air heavy with the weight of her words. Then she softly said, I know this is not what you were hoping to hear, especially after all the challenges you have faced to get here, but I must prioritize your health, Vian. We need to consider the possibility of terminating the pregnancy to ensure your safety. Vian's eyes filled with tears, a storm of emotions passing over her face, fear, sorrow, and the echo of a dream that might slip through her fingers. Taehyung's arm wrapped around her, a silent vow that whatever happened, they would face it together. Take your time to think about this. Saying this, she left from the room and went on her regular patient round, leaving the couple alone. The sonogram room was silent, save for the soft hum of the machine. Taehyung and Vigan sat side by side, hands intertwined, their eyes fixed on the screen that had just shown them the heartbeat of their unborn child. The doctor's words echoed in the sterile air. The pregnancy could cost Vigan her life. Taehyung felt as if the ground had been pulled from under him. Vigan, we have to consider termination. Vigan's eyes were pools of resolve, her grip on his hand tightening. No, Taehyung, I won't do it, she declared, her voice stronger than he would heard in weeks. I wanted to end this pregnancy for all the wrong reasons before. Maybe that's why this is my punishment, but I won't make that choice now. Taehyung's heart shattered. He pleaded, the fear of losing her overwhelming him. But Vigan, it's your life at risk. She stood up, her framed by the light of the doorway. I know, but this child, our child, is a part of us. I can't do this, Taehyung, I can't. With those final words, she walked out, leaving Taehyung alone, surrounded by the cold medical equipment, more devastated than ever, grappling with fear of the future and the fierce love he held for both Vian and their child. Some days later, the bedroom, once a sanctuary of love and dreams, was now a battleground of fear and desperation. Taehyung was on his knees before Vian, his hands clasping hers, his eyes pleading. Please, Vian, I can't lose you. We need to terminate this pregnancy, he begged, his voice raw with emotions. Taehyung's mind was a whirlwind of a self-reproach. He was tormented by the memory of their joy just 2 months ago, now turned into a nightmare. Why did I encourage her to continue? Why couldn't I foresee this? You were doing this because of petty anger, right? Anger that I didn't let you terminate this pregnancy before? Then my love, don't be angry. Please do terminate this. No, Taehyung, why would I be? Then why can't you freaking do what doctors advising? In a moment of anguish, Taehyung's voice rose, a loud shout in the quiet room. Do you not care about what happens to you, to us? His heart was breaking, the sound of his own voice foreign to him, but Vine remained resolute, her voice steady. I do care, Taeyang, but I also care about this life inside me. I can't just end it out of fear at the cost of my life. I am sure you're gonna be an amazing dad. Their mom, too. Defeated, he collapsed beside her, his head in his hands, his body shaking with sobs. Vine reached out, her touch gentle on his back. I am sorry, she said softly, her own tears mingling with his. I am so sorry I have to do this. He hugged her tightly, hiding his face in her neck, soaking it with his tears. Her eyes too shedding tears. You are cruel. You are very cruel. More than 4 months later. Taeyang stood alone in the sterile hospital corridor, the stark white walls closing in on him. The muffled cries from the labor room pierced through the silence. Each one a stark reminder of the gravity of the situation. Wagon, against all odds and advice, was inside, giving birth to their child at the end of her 8th month, her frail health hanging by a thread. His mind was a template of guilt and fear. Why couldn't I convince her? Why couldn't I protect her? The thoughts circled in his head like vultures over a dying prey. He had been her rock, her support, but now he felt as fragile as a leaf in a storm. The doctors had warned them, advised a C section to save at least one life. Everything was planned. They were to do the C section a couple of weeks later, but suddenly Vine's labor started. Now, as the reality of the situation dawned on him, he couldn't help but curse himself for not being firmer, for not saving her from her own selfless bravery. The love that had bound them together was now a cruel twist of fate, potentially taking her away from him. He slid down the wall, his body unable to support the weight of his despair. The cold floor was the stark contrast to the warmth of their home, where they had dreamed of raising their child together. Now he was faced with the possibility of a future without her, a future he couldn't bear to imagine. The door of the labor room opened and the nurse stepped out. Thiang looked up, his eyes searching hers for a sign, any sign. The nurse's expression was unreadable. And he knew that the next few moments would decide everything. His heart, if it could break any further, was ready to shatter. The nurse's approach broke through the haze of Thiang's anxiety, her arms cradling a tiny bundle, and she said softly, Mr. Kim, meet your son. As the nurse gently placed the newborn in Taeyang's arms, a surge of emotion overwhelmed him. The baby, so small and fragile, was a beacon of hope in the longest night of his life. And Ryan, he asked, his voice trembling, dreading the possible answer he would receive. She's in observation, but she's a fighter. There's a good chance she might pull through. The nurse replied, her eyes kind. A tear left the man's eyes without caring about his surroundings. He looked at his son's sleeping face. More tears left his eyes. Lips trembling, he planted a gentle peck on his son's forehead. Your mom won't leave us, right? She will fight back. She have to. The hospital room was quiet, the soft beeping of the machines a testament to the battle Vian had fought. The doctors came with a cautious smiles. Vian's health is weak, but she has survived. She needs a lot of rest now. Taehyung stood by her bedside, his son in his arms, looking down at Wayne's resting form. Relief washed over him like a warm tide, tears of gratitude spilling over. He whispered a promise to both his wife and child. I will take care both of you always. The weight of the past months seemed to lift, leaving room for a future filled with love and laughter of his family. Taehyung knew the road ahead would be long, but as he looked at his son, he felt strength he never knew he had. They had weathered the storm together and now they could finally breathe. 6 months later, the morning light bathed the kitchen in a soft glow as Taehyung dressed for work, savored the last moments of breakfast with his family. Wayan was across the table feeding their son, who gurgled happily in his high chair. You know, Wayan, Taehyung began, his voice filled with a tender earnestness. Now that he is 6 months old, maybe he could start working again from home or the office, whatever you feel comfortable with. Wayan paused, her spoon mid-air, and looked at Taehyung. Her smile was gentle, yet it didn't quite reach her eyes. Maybe. She said, her mind racing with thoughts she hadn't voiced in months. Taehyung reached out, his hand brushing against hers. It would be good for you to reconnect with that part of yourself again. He encouraged, hoping to see the spark in her eyes that he loved so much. Wai nodded her head heavy with the secret she harbored. I will think about it, she replied, her voice soft murmur. As Taehyung stood to leave, he leaned over to plant a kiss on his son's forehead and then on Wai's cheeks. I love you so much, he said with a warmth that filled the room. I love you too. Wayan whispered back, watching Taehyung disappear through the door. Her heart aching with a bittersweet pain, she turned to their son, her eyes beaming with unshed tears, knowing that these moments were numbered. Despite Taehyung's loving suggestions, she knew her decision was made. She would leave, ensuring their son's future with his father, a future she felt she could no longer be a part of. And as she fed their son, each spoonful was a silent farewell, a mother's love etched in every touch, every smile, every tear she fought back. At evening, the front door cracked open and Taehyung stepped into the dimly lit hallway, expecting to see Wayan's family smiling greeting him. Instead, he was met with the sight of his cousin Jimin cradling his son in the living room, Taehyung's brow furrowed in confusion. Jimin, what are you doing here? Where's Wayan? Jimin looked up, his expression somber. Wayan had to rush to her father's house urgently, so she called me to watch the little guy. But it's been hours and she hasn't returned. Taehyung frowned. Her leaving for her father's place didn't seem right. She didn't mention to me that she needs to go to somewhere today. Did she went anywhere else? Did Jimin heard wrong? But why hasn't she come back yet? Does something bad happen? A cold dread settled in Taehyung's stomach. Wayan had severed ties with her father long ago. There was no reason for her to visit him now. Panic clawed at his throat as he dialed her father's number, then one relative after another, but no one knew of her whereabouts. With a heavy heart, Taehyung filed a missing person report with the police, the hours stretching into an endless void of worry. He was a shell of himself, going through the motions of caring for their son, his mind consumed by Wine's absence. That night, as he softly sang a lullaby to his son, his voice barely masking his anxiety and exhaustion, something caught his eye, a piece of paper tucked under a cushion. With a trembling hands, he unfolded the note which wasn't there previous night. He saw Wine's handwriting blurred before his eyes. My dear Taehyung, by the time you would be reading this letter, I would be far gone from you and our son. No, I am not pacifying myself. No, I am just removing myself from your life, Taeson's life. It's for the best. I have tried multiple times in this 1 year of time to not think about my conception the way I was made, but unfortunately I can't oversee the face that I am dirty, very dirty. I can't take this thing out of my mind. I fear someday I would become crazy thinking all this and do something stupid in front of Taeson which would leave a forever scar trauma in his mind. That's why I am leaving. Please tell him I am no more, not due to giving birth to him, but due to accident. Also, never let our son meet my biological parents. Never tell him the nasty truth. If I stay there, this wouldn't be possible unless I confront my biological parents, which I can never do. It's gut-wrenching for me. I know you can raise him well. My love, you will raise him wonderfully. So be happy in life. Don't look for me. I have left with my full will. If any day you would love again, don't hold back. Not every woman's birth would be nasty like me. Not every woman would be weak-willed like me, so never hold back. Give yourself another chance to trust another one. I pray you would not be disappointed. You and our son would be forever in my prayers. Yours, Swan. Taehyung's tears fell on the paper, each drop a testament to the love and life they shared, now a memory etched in ink. When did your state become this fragile? Why didn't I notice? Why I assumed you were getting better while nurturing Taeson, while being with him, laughing with him, while smiling with me. How could I forget about post-pregnancy depression? Why I didn't took you to psychologist? Why, my love, why? He yelled at himself in his mind. Regret washing over him as he felt he didn't have had much to overcome her situation. Instead, he assumed everything was okay. He wanted to scream that time, scream in agony, regret. But couldn't due to his son being sleeping in his arms, unaware to the truth of his mom leaving his dad. Taehyung cradled him closer to his chest and cried silently. The regret, the pain, the agony was too much for him to bear. Hope this story was as you expected it to be, and mind you, it took me damn 3 months to upload it fully. It was very difficult to write.